Recording started. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode. We were gone, but guess who's back in the building? Got your boy, the realist, and the boss. What's going on, Chris? What's good with you, man?
Well, we took a break, man. Look at our spot. Check out that background.
And it ain't even done yet, man. I got to give you guys a full tour of our office. We're doing big things out here in Corona. Opened up a brokerage out here, and honestly, guys, we'll tell you guys a little bit more about our story as we go. But Chris, so what's up, man? What's new? What you got going on?
I think the biggest thing is just the market change. You know what I mean? I'm getting hit up all the time about the market this, the market that, and if you just do your local searching, dude, what do you see? It's just bitching, fear. Oh my God, I'm sad. The interest rates, no more buyers. Like, for real? I don't buy into any of this stuff. I don't know about you. Like, what are your thoughts?
You know what is crazy? Yeah, like every realtor that I talk to, will most of the time start off with, man, these rates are crazy. Buyers are not buying. These houses aren't selling. But in reality, I'm not seeing that. Yes, of course, I do see the interest rates spiked up. But as far as slowing down in the business, I think because of the mentality of where everybody's at, it's actually made me gain more business because now that pool of buyers that's there is coming to me because there's less competition out there. There's a lot of agents, especially right now, like December time, right? Christmas time around coming out, a lot of agents just quit. They stop, they leave on vacation, they leave for the holidays. And let's be honest, realtors, they leave very early on.
That's a topic that we could literally cover every single December, right? We could cover it all the way up to October, really. But the one thing that is new to a lot of agents right now is this market, this housing bubble that we're in, because we just got out of 2.5-year frenzy, a free-for-all. And I know we're going to upset some out there that didn't experience all that low-hanging fruit because, yeah, you still had to structure a deal. You still had to negotiate. You still had to find the property because it was tough. Don't get me wrong. I get you, all you hard workers out there. But let's also be honest. You know, finding a buyer, getting them approved, it was never easier.
Not only that, bro, let's keep it funky. Like, to be real, how hard was it to really structure an offer? How hard was it to really negotiate? I mean, don't get me wrong. Yes, there was no negotiating. It was just highest and best. There wasn't anything to it. Like, you weren't really doing much for your client. The only question you were asking is, how deep are your pockets? How much money can you really offer? How much money you have in cash? It didn't matter about if you're going to negotiate repairs, closing costs, none of that. The only thing you were really going for is how high can you go? So there was really no skill there. There wasn't any negotiating skills. There wasn't much that realtors were bringing to the table. That's in reality what they went through. So
I'm not taking anything away from the people that had to go through it.
And I'm not saying anything good or bad about it. I'm just saying that's the reality. I mean, if we're keeping it real, that's what was going on in the last 2 years.
There's no doubt. What's funny about it now, though, is the fear-driven mentality that, like, the housing of the purpose of buying and selling is now no longer a conversation, bro. Because interest rates are high. That's what they're saying. The interest rates are high. I mean, if you didn't see an 18% interest rate like when it was high, this shit ain't high. You want to call it normal, call it higher than last month, you could say all those things. But let me tell you something, G. People are still going to buy. People are still going to sell. The market has no influence on your success. The only thing the market is going to do is direct you in how to navigate your business. That's it. There's no lack, like whatever you were doing that kind of work back 2.5 years ago, just stop doing that. And like, just shift it into shit that you already know works. And 10x that, right? The market isn't going to tell you like, oh shit, I better get a job. Don't have that mentality. They're like, the market's just going to say, oh, instead of doing A, I think I just might have to do B for the time being, because guess what? The market's going to correct itself again. And then we're going to have the same conversation. Oh my God, I'm too busy. All right, well, now you're bitching about us being too busy? Homie, the market's the market. It's going to do whatever the market's going to do. The government's going to have its influence. The territories are going to have its influence. You just got to be the professional, real estate pro, business owner. Go advise your clients on what's needed. Be real with them. have the balls to have a real conversation, say, hey, maybe it's not a good time for you to buy or sell. Or maybe there is a perfect opportunity in this market for them to move on, and help them guide them through that process as best you can.
Now, let's be honest. Identify the reason why people purchase homes. Like, dump it all the way down. Let's talk about it.
There's so many, but
let's talk about what's going on with rentals right now. There's so many people that we're looking at, and we're talking about buyers and how many people really buy a house. What happens to all these homes where the person already passed away? They leave it on to their children.
Right.
What's the first thing their children do when it comes to it? If it's a trust, a probate, I don't care what it is. Do they care to have that home?
No.
So then what happens? Most of these homes that they inherited are rental properties.
Yeah.
So then they're cashing out. What happens to the tenants in place?
Passed out is what happens.
These tenants now got to leave. Now, the biggest struggle that I'm looking at is there's tenants that have been in the same home for the last 10, 15 years. They've been renting the same place for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And they actually didn't get a huge rent increase. So they have a huge payment shock, because they're going now from a $1,500 rental to all of a sudden, hey, they're going out there to go look for another house for rent.
Yep.
$3,000, $3,500, $4,000.
It's a show.
And nobody talks about that. They all talk about what the rates are, but who's talking about what's going on with rent? So all these now buyers, now they become buyers because, number one, they can't rent. They're looking at like, oh shit, now I got to go pay $3,000, $3,500. They might as well buy.
Yeah.
So there's still that demand. That demand is there no matter where you go. That's going to happen. Like, I'm having these conversations out here. I'm having these conversations with people in Texas, people in Arizona, people in Vegas, people in Ohio. It's the same thing that we're looking at.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing, I feel like we have to identify what it is. The reality, there's always going to be a demand for housing. Everybody needs a roof over their head.
Right.
Now, the biggest struggle that I feel like is going on, I went on this tangent the other day, and I was on Instagram talking about it. And I said, everybody's trying to motivate the buyer onto purchasing a home, or this potential buyer. The reality is we don't need to motivate them to purchase a home. They know they want to buy a house. They know renting sucks.
Yeah.
We don't need to convince them about that. Everybody flat out knows that. What we do need to go ahead and influence them and convince them on is, you're the best option. You're the best realtor they should go with when it comes to purchasing a home. You're that person. It's not like, hey, you know what? You should buy a house. They know they have to buy that house. What they don't know is who to go with. So why are you need to motivate them, influence them, and teach them why you're that person to go ahead and purchase a home from.
See, and that's where the shit gets convoluted, bro, because everyone says, oh, I have to motivate them to purchase or motivate them to sell. Let me tell you something. Your job is to find their motivation, not to create motivation. If you start creating your own motivation, brother, that's the fastest way to not be in business. Because they'll catch on sometime during that transaction. You're like, you know what? I don't want to do this. You talked me into this shit. I don't want. Now you become an evil suspect. Versus asking fucking questions and be like, hey, do you have the motivation? Oh, you do? Let me tell you why I'm the guy or gal that needs to help you through this situation, because this is what's happening in our market. Because of this XYZ market, we have to navigate this way. And there's a lot of hangover with consumers, bro, because they got that too. Their neighbor sold a house, their cousin sold a house, their parents, their aunt, their nieces, their nephews, their brothers, their sisters sold a house in the last 2.5 years and fucking cashed out, son. And now they're going over to the real estate agent saying, hey, I want what they got. And we have to be we got one or two choices. We can either say, okay, we'll do it. That house sits on the market like we're seeing right now for 100+ days, reductions, challenging conversations.
Now let's be real though, Chris. What is the media telling people? What is the media really saying? Like, there's a reason why the media hates Facebook, hates YouTube, hates podcasts like these, because we keep it real, right? We give them the reality of it. But what is the media pushing? They're telling people not to purchase a home. They're saying, hey, you shouldn't buy a house. Like, let's keep it real. The radio's saying that. There's people on the news talking about that. They're saying, hey, you know what? Interest rates are extremely high. Compared to what? Compared to 2021, 2020?
Which is not fair in any conversation, dude. Those were historic lows, not just like, oh, look what happened. It's on sale. Like last year. Nah, dog, that happened. That was a one-time thing. That's it.
Now, on the flip side, what's going on, right? So if we were to dumb it all the way down and say, okay, so what's really going on? Okay, rates went up, and you can say they went up, they went back to normal, whatever the case may be. 6% interest rates is what we're looking at right now, 6 to 7%. Now, there's so many investors out there right now raising capital. There's so many people who are raising capital to buy all these properties.
Yep.
And they're not going to buy to resell them. They're buying and holding. They're buying and holding it. And now guess what? They're the landlords. They're the ones that are really going to control the market. And all those people that are not buying, what are they doing? They're going to go rent. That's what they're going to do. Exactly. Now, what if they can't control right now the market? You think they're going to be able to control what rent cap is?
Dude, that's what's crazy. This is the fear that people are driving in. The rate has went up. We get that. Where people are starting to get that fear, what the news is telling them is saying, hey, the rates are up, but the income level hasn't gone up. So that's what's driving the fear. But that's where real estate agents aren't doing the right thing by having strong, good conversations and saying, hey, even though the rates are up and your income hasn't matched it, we have programs in place. We need to get you in front of a good lender. Let me show you to my team that can help you navigate based on what we're seeing. Yeah, your paycheck hasn't moved. You didn't get a raise. Raise went up, you didn't get a raise. So how can you buy? Homie, there's ways to do it, but no one's talking about that shit. So we're just going, I guess I'm gonna have to rent.
Not only that, bro, look at who really pays attention to these things, right? Now, people talk about, what about if I buy a house today and then it crashes? What about if the price drops?
Yeah.
There's people who are looking right now, like myself, that invest on flips. We're being more conservative. Yes, 100%. We're not going all in the way that we were going in last year, but we're still buying homes and flipping them. But for you watching this, if you're the average Joe and you're buying a house for you to live in for more than 2 to 3 years, why does it matter if it goes up and down? You're not looking to resell it for a profit. You're looking for this house for you to live in. So whether the price drops, whether it goes up, it doesn't matter. It's not like you're going to sell it right away. So unless you're going into this property thinking, I'm going to buy this house, I'm going to fix it, and I want to resell it for a profit, it does not matter. The reality is every single month that you're paying somebody else's mortgage, you're losing. All that money is going to the trash. Whether you're paying $2,500, $3,000, or $5,000, it doesn't matter. All that money, you're never going to see it back. On the flip side, if you were to purchase your own property, you stay in it for a number of years. When you sell it, you're going to cash out. That's the biggest difference. Now, if people are looking to invest and they're still doing it, why isn't the average Joe? Because they're feeding into what the media wants them to feed into.
I see it all day. Like I run through my Facebook, Instagram posts and see more and more agents talk about, and it's all fear-driven, talking about how they're going to have to do something else to compensate until the market finds its way back. Since when do we have that kind of arrogance in our industry as real estate agents to just go, oh, I'll just sit this one out? It's like, dude, number one, this isn't some weird bank-driven crash. And guess what? If it does crash, it's gonna fucking crash. But you could still work. In 2008, historically, it was the worst crash, right?
Yes.
Okay. Were people still buying and selling houses?
Yes.
There wasn't as many, but they were still doing it, right?
Now, the dudes that bought in 2008, even if it crashed and they own that home still, they didn't sell, guess what? That house is worth double than what it was worth in 2008. So they're winning. They're still winning. Yeah. The only people that lost are the people that gave up, right? They're the people that said, all right, I can't pay this anymore. So they gave up.
You're talking about consumer, which is super valuable. I'm talking about the
real
estate agent.
Yes, and I hear that.
Helping these folks.
Now, what is our biggest job? Our biggest job is to educate people.
And advise them,
not to convince them on why they shouldn't do it. We're just there to give them the tools and give them all the right information, lead them on real facts as opposed to just feelings. Because everything that's mostly out there is just based on feelings.
So just to wrap this up, if there was one thing that you could say to a consumer, what would it be?
You should purchase when it's the right time for you. Your scenario is different. Forget the media. If you're ready, you're qualified, you're approved, go for it. If you're not, then yes, it's not the right time for you. Totally fine. But if in your situation, you have the money for the down payment, you can afford the mortgage, do it. And if you do not, if you can't have those first two, then run away. Don't do it. Continue to be where you're at. Maybe you're living at home with mom and dad and you're not paying any rent. It's totally fine. Keep it that way. Now, if you are possible to go ahead and purchase, so go for it. That's my biggest one.
What's your biggest thing that you're going to say right now to a real estate agent?
So right now, to a real estate agent, it really is going to be the persistence in you. Because if you yourself do not believe in your product, you do not believe in your service, then there's no way that you can help others. If you yourself don't believe it, you need to believe it yourself. You need to look deep inside of yourself and identify, is this really the right time for you to help people? If the answer is yes, keep on going. If not, just get out the business. Straight up.
A wise man once told me that if you don't think houses are going to sell, then they're not. If you don't think people are going to buy, then they won't. But they're not going to buy from you. They're just going to buy from somebody who does know that they're going to buy and sell and things like that. So my one thing, even though you didn't ask me, which is fine, it's cool, I'll just put myself in there.
No, I wanted to hear it. I was just waiting, bro.
For a consumer, you have to look at your situation and feel and think about what's happening in your life right now that is going to be the deciding factor on the necessity of moving. If you're looking to just cash out and make a bunch of money and you don't have a lot of equity in your home based on what you owe, guess what? Maybe it's time to pump the brakes, figure out what needs to happen in your life to make equity if a move is just a cash out. If it's a necessity, because you've got to upsize, your family's growing. If you've got to downsize, your family's leaving. If it's too expensive to live in one area and you know you have a better lifestyle in another area, it's a financial move. That's a necessity. That's okay. Buy the house. No one's ever going to lose by purchasing that kind of an asset. You're going to be fine. You're going to be good. And guess what? There's a thing called refi. When the market does, I don't want to say correct, because when is it really correct? We're always going to bitch about it.
It's always going to be a market shift no matter what.
So no matter what the situation is, you'll always be ahead of the game. For the agent, here's my words of advice. Stop being a bitch. You own a business. You know what the business seasons are. You know things like this happen. Fucking take advantage of your business and go out there and go be the best service provider to your consumer. Go educate them and show them what's real. Build your team of industry experts and deliver world-class service. If you need someone to coach you, hold you accountable, a simple reminder might be all it takes for you to go, wait a minute, this is my business. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to make this happen. Maybe that's all you need, but make sure you get that shit. Take back what is yours, and what's yours is your real estate career. So those are my words to all of you folks.
Guys, you guys heard it best. You guys heard it best from the boss. Now, guys, you guys hear a lot of passion when we talk about our podcast, because this is what we're all about. We want to give you guys the truth. We want to keep it real. So stay tuned. Our biggest job, as you guys can see in the back, is hustle and motivate. So you guys can go ahead and follow us on YouTube. I'll go ahead and I'll be providing a link for you guys. It's going to be in the bio.
Keep it real, keep it real. And if you like the vibe, subscribe.